Class mode. Recording has started. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I hope today I am joined by active Twitch chat. Alright. Let's get the road going. Get on the what? Let's get on the road. Let's get going on the road. We'll start today's session. I think I tweeted out that we were starting stream like 10 minutes ago. And it's been 10 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. But if you're not in, then you're not in. I definitely started streaming. Yes, I started streaming 10 minutes ago. And if class isn't in their seats, class is not in their seats. So, let's see. Let's review let's review a homework. We got a homework submission in from a user in the Discord named Sep. Not sure who Sep is. Not sure if they'll make it to today's stream. I said we'll start at the usual time, and then I had a delay because I thought I was experiencing issues with my audio. If this video sounds any more different, then that is why. But let's take a second to review Sep's heads. I think Sep was here last session, actually. They were talking about the head. They'd done studies in school. No, that was Sunday. Sunday was also here, but I believe Sep was also present for last week's session. So, either way, let's take a look at Sep's Loomis heads for studying. Very nice. Very nice. This is clean. I like this. Good job with your circle. Good job with the side cuts. I like this attention to where the where the eye socket would be, right there. Well proportioned. I see that you also, maybe you're also having similar thoughts that I was having with, it doesn't feel right to place the bottom of the nose right there, so it got extended a bit. And you know what? Perfectly fine. I think it's perfectly fine to think that because people are shaped differently. Maybe this is the average you want to work with. You know, and personally to me, nothing looks off here at all. But again, proportions, pretty sound in my opinion. Hairline, a little bit lower, but that's okay. That looks fine. There's your chin, there's your cheek, going into the middle. Looking good. I think your cheek, I think this jaw, maybe it goes up a little bit more towards the ear. I don't know, it depends. But I don't think it's objectively speaking, I don't think it's incorrect. Is this how you want to view things? Good, fine. No, I like it. With what little depth I could give to the subject, I think you did perfectly well. This is a very nice skull. I like this attention to the fact that the skull, the cranium, it's a bit wider than we give it credit for. I like that attention, even though it looks circular. In actuality, it is not a circle. It's a bit of an oval. But you did a good job. Enjoy this. Good having. As long as your nose, again, as long as the bottom of the nose is lining up with the ear and the brow line is about lined up with the top of the ear, that's the main proportion we need to keep track of when we're developing our heads. So, you did good on that regard. And you paid good attention to the skin, the way it interacts with the jawbone. Love that. So this, good on you. Yes, the chin doesn't necessarily look like this. Sometimes it does, in fact, look like this. Here we go. And, you know, the main thing about the neck, it's never this. Maybe sometimes it's this, but more naturally, you know, you got it. Looks like this. So, excellent there. And good here. This is where this corner of the eyebrow, that's where the side of the head should be. That's how we define the side plane of the head. So, that looks good. Get to the 3/4 angle. Pretty nice. See, identify the circle, identify the side. At the very least, I appreciate your consistency in where your side plane is beginning. It's good to at least keep it consistent yourself every single time. So even if it's like, maybe it's a bit lower, at least it's consistently lower. So I think, yeah, about here, it's hereabouts where I believe the side plane of the head should be. Um, we see that your side plane here, it's cut off a little bit. Since we've determined that the side plane aligns a bit towards the corner of the eyebrow, you might want to see about making sure it lines up around there. That's my suggestion. But otherwise, very good sighting. Once again, very good proportions. As long as we're keeping track of these like proportions correctly. Like there's the brow. Sorry, there's the hairline. There's the brow ridge. Have that. There's the eyes. Have that. Nose is about there. And again, I see the issue with trying to constrain it into there. That doesn't feel right, doesn't it? So this looks fine, in my opinion. Um, seek out more, seek out more sources that could tell you otherwise. But I think it's correct. Hello, Seth. Hello. How long have you been here for? I'm just looking at your submission. Thank you for submitting, by the way. I like having a chance to look this over and talk about it live. The main reason, just joined. Hello. So the main reason, like, I want to do these homework reviews, the main reason why I give people opportunities to practice, aside from the fact that practice good, I'm prompting you to practice. I like to talk about it on stream, just so we can discuss things that you're doing well, maybe things that can be improved. So, Step, I noticed you're gonna talk about this again. I noticed. I like that your proportions are pretty on point in terms of realism. Very good. I like that. I like that when you have these things, you get about where they should be. And I noticed this is actually just a bit off in the third. But the other thing I noticed is that it's not perfect. Obviously, it's not perfect. You need to practice making it totally perfect. But it looks to me like it makes sense to you, which is also the more important part. This whole process needs to make sense to you, and I like that. There's somebody knocking at my door. Let me finish this and then I'll get up for a second. I apologize. But Seb, tell me, when you were doing these, hello, more chat. And when you were doing these, what was the thought process that came in as you were drawing like this part of the nose? I know I said in the last session, bottom of the nose generally aligns with the bottom of the ear. How did you feel when you came here and you decided, yeah, let's just extend it a bit? I don't disagree with that, with having done that or anything. I'm just curious what came to mind as you did that. Another part is, I believe the side plane maybe a bit too close. Maybe that could be a little bit more inside. I'm not totally certain, but it feels correct to line it around here. But I think it also just depends on the type of head you're looking at. This is more of a fully fleshed out face, so I think this is actually more apt. If we were just doing the head practices, which you're supposed to do, that could be fine. But just very curious to hear about your process, and what led you around to the decisions that you made for your practice. It's a lovely practice. I think these are really well shaped heads. I will get up, and I hope there's a response by the time I'm back. If not, that's understandable. Okay, sorry. Step says, step your balls. Honestly, had a lot of trouble, had to constantly fight your muscle memory. Guess it's my shorthand that I developed from head studies. It was a really fun challenge. I would love to hear that it was at least fun. Yes, so if I'm recalling correctly from what we learned last week, last session, usually you just divide the head by halves so that Loomis proportions felt awkward. I feel you. And maybe that's why you and I both have some issues with accepting that the nose, the bottom of the nose should be there. Yes, I totally feel you. I am also very used to, in really like quick, short bursts, just do halves. There's my head. There's my hairline. There's my nose, maybe around here. Mouth. Yeah, no, I understand. But hey, as long as we're learning things, that's good. Yeah, I do think the side of the jaw could maybe be a bit higher, about to where you put it. Maybe align it a little more to the ear, either that or towards the center of the side plane of the head. But I think you did a good job here. You did not do what I was doing last session where, and I'm saying this in a good way, you not do the thing where we retained it as just being one flat plane. I'm really glad that you made it curve inward. You remembered to do that as opposed to me at the beginning of the session last time. But it's good. I like it. I like it. I like it. And once again, all right. One tiny thing you might not have heard. I like this. I like doing this to represent the eye socket. It was very smart. So that's cool. Next, let's talk about your head studies. Sorry, took a swig of water. Good head studies. Good head studies. Let's see it in relation. Because again, you didn't have to go the whole 9 miles and make sure it's actually accurate. I wanted to see that you're thinking with dimension, and you are. This is good dimension. This is very good. I like to see that. I see there's definitely something going on. You're paying attention to the bottom plane, I suppose. Not necessarily plane. No, just this part. This part of the head. Looks good. Like how your ears coming out. I think your mouth pretty well proportioned. And I believe we can align this with brow ridge. Yep. Yep, it should be. Lines to nose. Good, 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 good. Like to see that. Yes, this is great. This is great. The mandible, maybe we can call that the mandible. But it's good. I really, really appreciate just thinking about this, being more considerate about it. I'm trying to be more conscious about it myself. Maybe I might be going overboard in some of the drawings I've been doing myself recently, but this is good. You're seeing it. You're seeing that this tilt. When you see the bottom of these sort of things, when we see the bottom plane, paying attention to that. And I like that. I like it. Remember, for doing these full studies, we'll try to define the side plane of the head, or rather with the jaw. We'll define where that is in relation to the jaw. But the brow ridge is about where it should be. So pretty good. Pretty good. Like this. Yep. Yeah, right here. Yeah, that's good. Because then when you do that, then it lines up like that. And that's a boom, that's a full side plane. But this is excellent. Big ups for seeing where, and yeah, actually this is pretty well defined. This is a very well defined side plane in the head. And I'm really glad you were able to see that. Oh, that's good. Love to see that going on. And when you think about it, this is slightly unrelated, but the head, the Loomis head, in a way, sort of resembles a whistle. So, if you ever really wanted to break this down, tweet. There's the whistle. But you did a good job. You did a good job discerning the dimensions here and making everything properly aligned. And then look at that smile. Look at that smile. Like that. Good proportion. Good proportion. And I like that you decided to just mess around a little bit. Do that. I like that. I like that a lot. Paying attention to the dimensionality of it all. What the fuck? Nah. I did not curse on stream. I try not to curse on stream, especially within the workshop, but sometimes I can't help it. But this looks good. I like this. And I like that we're still seeing bottom part of the jaw. Even when you think you might not. Even if you think, she must be looking straight forward. Nope! We see a little bit of this. You did good. Very, very good job. Slightly unrelated tangent. I was watching a Doki Bird and a Mint clip. It was just like, it was just about how Doki Bird, half of the clip is just she cannot resist cursing. She uses up their 2 strikes for cursing on a sponsored stream. It was really funny. But very, very, very nice work. Very, very nice work. I think you did a good job. So now. I don't believe there was another homework submission. I didn't receive one on social media. So we'll be diving into the bigger part of today's work. You're welcome. Let's change currently on. We're doing a lot of drawing today. Because it's the last week. The main focus of this week's sessions are to just wrap up everything we've been talking about. And then on Thursday, I'll be discussing how to properly apply all of that. So we've learned figure drawing. We've learned a proportionate body. We know how the figure moves. Now you can take to the skies and draw any live person you want. But how does any of that relate when you want to draw things from imagination, from fiction, things like that? That'll be Thursday's lecture. Today is all about practice. Today is making sure we're all on the same page of what we've been learning for the last 6 weeks. So, let's immerse ourselves with figure drawing. Currently on full body. Well, let's do gesture drawing. We'll be doing a lot of gesture drawing. You're free to draw along with me, if you can. If you cannot, well, I hope you enjoy the live drawing experience, the live draw stream. I'll do my best to try and sum up everything we've been doing within a hopefully hour-and-a-half time frame. Ideally less. But we're going to be doing quite a lot. So, check my videos so that I've got everything on in order. Okay. We're going to do gesture, followed by the proportion. We're going to draw, goodness gracious, that is a naked body. Excuse me, sorry, I'm on my YouTube subscriptions right now. And that's a Kiara thumb. Let's open Gesture Draw Party. We'll work our way down from the body to the proportions. Chomping on your cornflakes. Hope you're not too late to the party. Let's do this one, I think. That was loud. Will I get struck for this? No, actually, I don't want someone too naked. Remember, last time we had a little bit too much nudity. The whole channel died. I don't want that again. Ooh, when we didn't even cover drawing 2 people together. No, we're not there yet. I'll be discussing. I'll discuss a few things I didn't get to do in this workshop on the final. For us to think about. This person looks fun to draw. Like I said, we're starting with gesture drawing. We're gonna do. You know, actually, not the gesture draw party yet. We're not gonna do that yet. We'll instead do a bunch of like really fast bullet time. Bullet time? No. Just a bunch of gesture drawing from line of action. That'll be much shorter term. And be able to do adult. Let me pull up browser, of course. Bam. Full screen that. A gesture drawing show called Bullet Time would be sick though. Truing. All right. We're gonna do 30-second. We're gonna do 10 30-second gesture drawings. That totals to 5 minutes. That'll warm us up. That'll really warm our hands up. If you're not able to draw with us, we'll just stay tuned. Keep things in mind. We'll be continuously trying. We'll be continuously practicing our gestures, and more drawing throughout the rest of this time. So let's get into it. The scale should be pretty big. Goodness gracious, what a ripped lady. So for gesture drawing, remember, with gesture drawing, we're trying to convey the human form using line in as few lines as possible. To do that, we use CSI lines. That is literally C curves, straights, and S curves. That's not CSI, that's CIS. With CSI lines, we are not necessarily concerned with drawing the body proportionately. We are focused on finding the way that the body expresses itself. Where are fun-looking motions? Can we turn a straight line maybe into a pair of curves? We look to see that the hips, are the hips just straight on? Do they have this slight curve? How do those work? And we exaggerate just a bit of the real human form to find motion. Motion is what matters the most when you're drawing gesture. We'll look for wide sweeping lines of action through the whole body. Bam, bam. We'll see that sometimes even the line of action, maybe it aligns with the longest extended part of the body, or, as thanks, good timing, ballerina, sometimes there's multiple lines of action. Maybe there's a line of action goes this way, and the line of action that goes this way, and those both just happen to combine and represent the legs. Like so. And use wild straights to do something like this. Interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting pose to do, but we don't practice sitting poses enough, though. In all honesty, in gesture drawing, we don't do that enough. Nobody thinks about how nobody thinks often about how hips move or how hips settle when you're seated. And the truth is, they just kind of sit in one particular position, unless you're like really splayed out. So just consider that. If you have the time, you can draw a bit more form, but try to express form using only lines. You can find ways to express more line, like that, or rather form through line as such. Try to bear in mind the general principle of where there is a straight, there is usually a curve opposing it to create more motion. And I ran out of time to do the rest of that because I was talking. It happens. If you are drawing on paper and you need to undo, try not to. With these short burst gestures, we want to be living with our mistakes. Part of doing gesture drawing is learning to live with our mistakes. Because you gotta be able to see. You gotta be able to live with what you do and commit to what you put down. And I know that can be scary. I know you might want to not do that. You might want to do chicken scratch to avoid overcommitting to one solid line. But the point of gesture drawing is to use strong gestural lines to determine motion. Interesting. We're trying to see what is before us and what life is telling us. So you do that with as many one lines as you can. What an interesting arm pose. This makes for such an interesting silhouette in the arms, there and there. If you're drawing digitally, try to avoid Control-Z as much as you can. My hand rests on Control-Z on reflex all of the time. So that's kind of a hard habit to break. Maybe someday I'll be able to change that habit. Maybe someday I'll get a Torbox Neo. Someday Torbox Neo will sponsor me and I can get to get a free product. Wouldn't that be funny? Is that our fifth? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So that was 10 gesture drawings, 10 30-second gesture drawings. For those of you who participated, how do you feel? Is your hand on fire yet? Is your head on fire? Is your brain spinning? Or is it just me? I had work today. I work as a teacher. I work as a real teacher and instructor. I had to blast every single important starting habit of an Adobe product. Oh my gosh, I'm tired. But I'm here for stream anyway. Whew. Adobe, honore. Yes, we all hate it. Part of class today was honestly, it was occupied by students who hadn't bought the software yet, even though I told them do it last week so that you can show up to class ready to learn everything and work alongside me as I give the first lecture. And then everyone forgot because I only teach 1 day a week, which is awesome. That's just the day they gave me. Anyway, there's our warm-up. How you feel? Because next we're gonna do some 60 seconds. Moving up to 60 seconds, we're gonna do 10 60 seconds, 10 minutes of that. Yeah. Everyone, myself, honestly. Just a few more seconds to rest. Owie. Owie. Ooh, remember to stretch your limbs, artists. It's good for you. Avoids carpal tunnel in the long run. Ooh. Alright. 60-second figure drawing. With the 60-second figure drawing, you can focus on a few more details. You can try to find a few more shapes. Generally, I kind of discourage that, but do your best. Let's actually just switch over to the Gesture Draw Party now, because they're basically going to follow the rest of the exercises I want to do. So 20-minute video. Let's do it. We're going to conclude the entire figure drawing session with one full figure drawing body, but we're going to work our way up to that. For now, Gesture Draw Party! We're using this lady, because the cloak kind of gives me cover when her butt shows. I wish the pursuit of the arts was not so sanitized. We can't just appreciate the nudity of the body, the beauty of the human form. No, it's all inherently sexual. Yeah, shut up, you're weird. Hard mode with the cloak obscuring it a bit. Because today is supposed to be hard mode. If you've been practicing along, I have faith in your abilities to be able to do these things. If you find yourself still unable to draw to the standard that you want to be at, just need to hit the books more, practice a bit more. Because the reality of if you have time, by the way, in these 1-minute gestures, add a bean for where the body is moving. But the reality of a 6-week workshop, not a lot of time to let the information soak and, like, you know, process. As much as I would love to let people, you know, spend like 2-3 weeks, you know, just trying one specific thing, I don't got the time for that in a 6-week workshop. The point of a 6-week workshop is to express information quickly, and then let these students take the information that they receive and practice it on their own time as they receive the live instruction needed to begin understanding it. Which I hope this workshop has accomplished for the most part, as well as given you some form of external motivation to practice. I'm here spending time every week for free, giving these lectures, talking about art, and if you want to work along with me, you can. The only ticket to admission is that you are going to try along with me. I hope you've been doing that. And once again, property of a straight and then a curve, in this case a pinch, follows in this torso. Let's talk about parts of the being. You haven't had a lot of time for the live workshop itself, but you gotta commit to practicing and using the VODs for it. I believe in you. I believe in you. Trust, I will always believe in each and every one of you who participates in this workshop, whether you were live or whether you're watching it through the VODs. Whether you're catching this 3 years from now, or you were here when it all dropped. I believe in you. And don't take that to mean it's like it's all empty. I truly do believe in the potential of everybody. You can push yourself to improve at a craft. You can push yourself to improve at anything you set your mind to. And again, platitudes, it might sound like a platitude. No, it's not. You really can. Some people need to hear that. Some people don't realize the effect of just having someone say, I do truly, honestly believe that you can do something if you believe in yourself. If you find the resources to tell yourself, or rather teach yourself, how to improve at a given subject. That, not a lot of room to talk about being yet, because she hasn't been twisting, turning, and curving every which way, but she's been doing a lot of really nice. I love the lines of action present through her whole body, which is pretty good for the 1-minute poses. We're gonna follow this beautiful, beautiful tilt in her shoulders. What a lovely curve through her body into her leg. And you know, honestly, I think there's something empowering about just having a passionate voice speak to you live, at least, or some semblance of live, rather than doing something scripted. I honestly just think there's some kind of virtue in it, because you're getting someone talking. You get to pay attention to someone who's paying attention to you, and what you are learning. It helps so much. I'm really glad that it's affected at least one person in a positive light. It means the philosophy is kind of paying off. Can I always do these in like a one-on-one scenario? No, I have a life. That's why these VODs exist now. That's why these streams exist now. It was a limited time offer to do it live, but I hope you've enjoyed it. This is really cool. The leg is like, it's stretching forward, and then it's like turning, it's pivoting, and then the foot's coming out like that. This hip, it is at a bit, actually no. Maybe you have to undo what you're doing digitally, show some solidarity to people who are drawing physically, and erase what you're doing rather than undoing. But this is a really, really interesting just position to hold the body. I like this. I like that you can really see the lean of her torso through there. And the figure drawing doesn't always necessarily include the head. You include the head if you have time, and you can inform the direction of where they're looking if it means anything. Draw more shapes as you need to. We're moving on to 2-minute poses. We can explore shape in a bit more depth for this. You think you've drawn a piece with the leg going one way and the foot going the other way, like that. It's possible. You just gotta really sell the reality of it, you know? If you're gonna draw something that exaggerated, because you'll get a lot of, you might get people who tell you that anatomy is incorrect, that you couldn't possibly do that to show them a real photo of someone actively doing that, and you'll prove them wrong. So on these 2-minute figures, try to find your line of action, which can occur through the spine, and then through the longest extensions of the body. Okay, so again, the limbs. You can seek them using gestural lines. If you're drawing on physical media, try to draw lightly. And if you're drawing on digital, try to use a low opacity brush or a brush that you can control the pressure with. Okay, so this whole line, that's the whole line of the spine, getting up to head. That. This is actually a little bit off. We can start seeking some accuracy behind our gesture drawings as we get more and more time. Seek what you want to emphasize. Seek what looks most interesting in the figures you are drawing. Yeah. That really is the secret to drawing something interesting. Pick something to focus on. Pick a part of the body you want to emphasize. You want to emphasize all of it? Okay, well, which part of this body is moving the most? Which part of this body anchors a lot of the weight? So on and so forth. The model will move a lot in live, by the way. I'm sure we all know this. But if one arm suddenly sunk lower than the other while you were drawing this, that's normal. Ooh, very interesting. See, this is what I mean. Like, can I not just appreciate that someone can contort their body in, like, all sorts of ways? Can I not just appreciate that? Can they not also just be naked so I can study how that body is truly moving? Come on, Twitch. Come on, YouTube. I know that will get abused in a heartbeat. But come on. But come on. It's art! We're learning art! Art needs people to get naked. Everyone needs to stop being gigaprudes. And we need people to stop taking advantage of certain things. Just so that you can make money off of sex. Those are two different things. Sex does have its own, it does deserve to exist in its own spaces. In the correct environment. But this is art. We are learning art. We are learning about the human form. We are learning that there's a torso with a whole lot of lean back right there. We see this happening. I hope she twists at some point. We can talk about twists. A lot of what we've learned about the figure can only really be improved by improving our basic understanding of perspective as well. Like, perspective helps inform the fact that we're seeing the bottom of her chin. We're seeing this. We're seeing that her body is bending back. So we'll see the bottom of her rib cage. We'll see the bottom of the this part of the bean. If we were drawing a robo bean, we would see the bottom plane right there, and we would see the top plane right here of the hips. Maybe a little bit more eye level. Perspective also teaches us that this is probably the eye level because you can see the top and bottom of those planes. That's interesting. Next 2-minute pose. She's kind of twisting if she does that. Nope. She chickened out. But this is interesting. So you can take two approaches to this. You can either follow conventional sense, follow the curve of her spine, and then do it like this. If you were drawing in another way, you could instead... Sorry, let me finish the rest of this gesture. So this is from the I am drawing a full figure, I am constructing it point of view, but I need a little bit of space, so I back in. We can see that there's actually a gesture like that. there's a curve. There's a wide curve set by her arm right here, and her shoulder is like right there, and her legs like kind of like that. It kind of does that. Save yourself a little bit of energy by being able to identify where long arches are, where large sweeping motions are present. Not necessarily just, you know, structurally. We can add structure back in. We can tell that her back isn't actually arching like that. We can tell that her torso is probably more like this. But there's a really neat gesture right here. Jacko pose, a realistic Jacko pose that someone can hold for 2 minutes. Have you ever tried lifting yourself up on a Jacko pose? That stuff's hard. But interesting. It's interesting. Her head is actually obstructing a lot of like where her spine is sort of well, maybe she is doing a bit of this going on. How do we know that? I don't know. Huh? Huh? I don't know, it just sounds like a lot of upper body work to stick your butt out like that. Narrowing eyes. Don't narrow eyes at me, chat. I am skilled in being able to break down the body. I am good at being able to guess what they must be doing. Yeah, I'm really glad she's wearing clothes. Those shorts are like riding up into her butt. I'm just like, oh, let's go, there's a twist! Yeah, baby! Let's talk about twists. Give you an opportunity to talk about twists, lady. Godspeed for holding that pose. Holy moly. There's a line of action right here, and we can pull it back actually a little bit. And one thing I'm actually doing, remember, when we do these kind of sweeping motions, try drawing from your shoulder. Try to learn to draw from your shoulder or draw from your elbow if you have space concerns. Holding yourself up, like so, on there. And her body is at a twist. We draw our bean, draw it overlapping, but parts of her body are going in two different directions. So what we're seeing here is a twist present from here up to here. The backside is, rather the front side is becoming more visible, while the backside is, or is it the other way around? Her front side is becoming less visible, while her backside is becoming more visible. The spine is sort of traveling down in this sort of pattern. And the body itself overlaps like something like this. Cool. Then the rest of her body. Doing this. Something like that. There's some foreshortening going on with her arm. We're not too concerned about that in a 2-minute gesture. But just keep that in mind. Things closer to us, you know, if they're closer to eye level, then there's less and less foreshortening, rather more and more foreshortening until the point that you can't even see the very, very end of it. Keep that in mind. Oh, interesting. Thank you, lady. Onto a 5-minute pose. With a 5-minute pose, challenge yourself to mannequinize. Draw shapes, draw things geometrically, draw different parts of the body. With geometry, I will discuss the shapes that we learned about for mannequins. The process, this will come in handy for the long draw that we'll do later to cap off the stream. So for now, just fine gesture. Fine gesture, what you're looking at. The reason I draw this funky, backwards L shape, upside down, fully rotated L, is because in the calf, your calf bones themselves, they kind of like, they work like this, sort of, right? And then they hook into your foot like that. This creates a lot of gesture, this creates a lot of curve in your leg, and I think seeking that, and of course it is visible on the other side as well, just seeking the curve created by those two bones does a lot for understanding how the leg ought to be bent, or how it interacts with itself. As opposed to, like, if we just did a straight line, it looks like that. That's boring. Curves, I found curves in the thigh and the leg. That's so much more interesting when you're seeking gesture. That's cool. Our long draw might consist of drawing a man, since we did Gesture Draw Party with a woman. I'd like it if we could draw a very sculpt man, people who are basically ripped. I personally have a lot of fun drawing those types of figures because they're very well defined. You can seek things a bit easier that way. Not to knock overweight people, of course. You're all beautiful in your own ways. Beauty is... everyone's beautiful. But I find just, for studying the body, it's a bit easier to break down how very fleshed out forms appear. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to study wider shapes, slightly overweight people, because fat offers its own, and I say this in the nicest way possible. Like, please believe me, I'm being nice. Fat has its own dimension. That doesn't mean it's devoid of movement. Although we may be doing a lot of conventionally, like, skinny or muscular people, there's still beauty to be found in rounder forms. I just don't happen to have the resources for that. And I usually use Gesture Draw Party as a substitute for live figure drawing that we would normally conduct in an in-person scenario. Because it's good to see the ways a person moves. It's good to see how a person can hold a given pose for so long. Good to try and break that down. We're trying to apply shapes where we can to the body. I'm kind of doing what I know by default, but I'll try to apply some more structure. We understand that the torso, the upper body, it's sort of shaped like an egg. If you want to do it like that, with a little cut here, female rib cages, they tend to be more acute in angle, a bit narrower in comparison to male rib cages, which are a bit wider, stouter. Your hips can be represented by a bucket, and the bucket is at a tilt. It tilts forward because that's how the body is shaped. You can represent the limbs using tubes, and the joints with geometric boxes. I recommend using boxes because they tell you immediately your joints are very planar. They have very clear planes and distinctions about how they are made. I don't have time to do everything, but just keep that in mind. I don't even have time to talk about proportion. We'll talk about proportion when we get to the more developed part of the gesture drawing, the figure drawing. But for now, this will do. Also keep in mind, when you are drawing a torso, the shoulders are separate from it. Shoulders are always separate from the body. The way you control having too broad shoulders when you don't want broad shoulders, widen up the hips response. So that'll do for this figure drawing session. Thank you for letting us draw you, Katie. You're awesome. As you can see, I was about to put Miho Wakabayashi, but what? Can't do that. So that'll do for this part of the drawing, or of the gesture drawing. Let's move on to heads. We'll do some quick warm-ups on head gesture drawing. Right back over to line of action. I'd just like to give us all just a quick warm-up for heads. I know you might have drawn heads already, giving you the opportunity to continue drawing heads. Let's do neutral expressions. Both pairs. And we'll do 6 seconds. We'll do 5. Nah, we'll do 30 seconds. Challenging you. We'll do 30 seconds. We'll do 5 30 seconds. And then 5 60 seconds. Wherein we try to follow the Loomis method. And just as a quick reminder for the Loomis method, circle. Side plane is another circle, or an oval if you're looking at perspective, about 2/3 the scale of your head. The way you find that is just generally scale it, then cut it about 2/3, like this, and then just move this over there. Easier said than done, but use your sighting methods. Measure with your pencil. Measure digitally if you must. It's important to start to interpret. You got to intuit these at some point. We draw a line going across the middle. This represents the brow line. We draw a vertical line coming down here. This is the kind of the jawline. This is part of it. You can draw a line coming up through the top. This represents the hairline. Another line coming through here. This is the bottom of the nose. We take these two these lengths, and we just double it up to get the bottom of the chin. This retreats back about somewhere around here. This is the side of the face, the side plane. The ear starts a little bit below the center of the head, and it leans back a bit. So there's the brow ridge. There's the nose. The eye is recessed in here. Keyword recessed. The face is still, even though we've expressed it a little flatly, the head is still a 3-dimensional form. So there's like your eye socket, and then there goes your eye, and then there's your eyelid, which only shows off a little bit at a time. But that's the basic proportion to remember, especially when we draw it from the front. When we draw it from the front, we get our rough 2/3 length circle oval for the head. Exactly how much that is, I apologize. Would not be able to tell you. You kind of got to feel it out, especially in relation to what you're looking at. But if we cut it through the middle, and keeping in mind, this is a 3-dimensional form. It does have a little bit of recession to it, as well as depending on what you're looking at, a little bit of curve to the contour. But everything still roughly lines up the same. Top line, hairline, this line, brow line, this line, bottom of the nose. Double this up. That's how you get the chin. Chin is about that length. Then from here, we'll just cast a slightly curved line, actually. Slightly curved line. Then cast another curved line to connect from the sphere, which is the cranium, to here. Do that. That's the Loomis method as seen from the front. Then we'll do this. Just draw another curve that comes up through here. In my understanding of the Loomis method, the line that curves up from the chin, meeting on the corner, it goes in towards the ear, towards this middle point of the circle, rather. You don't have to draw every single thing. And by the way, this in the middle here, in this last third, that's where the mouth would be. And your eyes go roughly in the middle of this third as well. And finally, when it's looking on from a 3/4 angle, do an oval, about 2/3 height. This might be actually too big. Something like here. It's an oval because now we're in perspective. Line through the horizontal metal within perspective. Do this. Then a middle plane right through there, or middle vertical line here as well. And again, hairline, brow line, bottom of the nose, double this up. This is actually a little bit off, but I don't care. It's a quick review. Double that up, chin. When you bring the side of the head down, make sure it comes at a bit of a curve, because the face isn't totally planar. It's not one block, rather. We'll bring this back, create a sort of angle as it comes towards the cranium, then line it up with the side right there. It's actually a little bit below, but you'll figure that out. You'll vibe it out. You'll see what works best with you. Then this curve stretches into there. Back of the ear, or rather the ear, starts behind. Does not start over here. Starts behind the vertical line. Nose. Your mouth. This is your cheekbone. Roughly represents where your cheekbone would be. This is where that part of your head that your hairline goes around, and you tend to see, especially on people with like really pronounced foreheads. Yeah, that's how that goes. There's one more thing I wanted to mention about head that I can't remember. Does anyone have any questions before we dive into our quick head gesture drawing? Next, right. Yes, and keep in mind, your neck will connect about to your cranium. They don't go inside your jaw or anything. They do not stick up straight. They come at a little bit of a curve, as so. Maybe even a little bit like this. There's skin that connects your jaw to your neck. Keep that in mind. Your neck, the lollipop neck, is not real, but it only it makes people think that way because it looks like this. It tends to align with the jaw, but try to avoid it. Try to remember when you're looking at a neck in any other view except straight on, it's comes in curved like so and goes into the cranium. First time chatter, Z Gabriel MVP. Hello. Hi. This is I've been conducting a workshop. I'm new here. Yeah, of course you're new here. First time chatter. I've been conducting a workshop for the last 6 weeks, and this is the last week. We're reviewing heads. I'm talking about the Loomis head method, and then we're going to do some quick drawing of just practicing this basic view of the head. The basic view of the head is literally just that whistle shape I elaborated on earlier in stream. This shape. Try drawing this shape. Based on the different angles that everyone is looking. Just keeping in mind other stuff. You'll do great. You'll all do great. So, let's get to it. Let's get gesture drawing. Barely a gesture because they're heads, but, you know. Still important to do these sort of things. Quick thing about the head. When the jaw is looking up, your ear will angle lower. It looks lower, at least. Keep that in mind. It lines up. It still lines up with the brow line, but your ear is just a lot lower. Fire way to remember it, TBH. Awesome. Whistle shape, yeah. we don't think about that very often. Reminder, we're doing about 30 seconds and then 60 seconds. There's not a lot to elaborate on what we see here. But we can see that person looking up a bit. I'm falling into a bit of a habit of drawing the eyes when I should be trying to draw the brow line. We see, and we're just doing the ideal Loomis head. We're not trying to draw totally from reality here, because we're by practicing averages, we understand how to break the average a bit more. It's literally just learning the rules so you can break it over your knee vigorously. Because everyone needs to do this in art. You can't reinvent the wheel without understanding the wheel. This is the way cookie crumbles. Side plane. Bring this around, bring this around. Double that. Oh, there's the middle plane of the face. Double this length. Creates the jaw. Then it comes around as such. Bam. Sorry, guy. Need to see your face. There we go. Much better. Cranium. Side plane is about here. He's looking super up. His curves around. There's his eyebrow ridge. Hairline's about here, and that about aligns with what we see. He's still looking up, so it curves. It keeps curving. Bring this down. Make it slightly like that. And I will actually pause the reel. That's 5 heads. Hope everyone's pencils are not on fire. And we'll draw this and just bring it around. It's a lot to keep track of. It really is, especially when you're doing speed drawing. But it's supposed to just help us used to it. You've just gotten into art last week, so you don't know much about it. Well, you know, guess who's been teaching art for 6 weeks? You can go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@rivewriterart, which is where the VODs for this entire workshop is located. I take things from the top, and I try to break down the basics of drawing people as basically as everyone can. Lord, you are not here for the head lecture. You need to watch that video because you're lost. Oops. Yeah, I hope that little explanation I gave earlier, that super fast one, helped in some way. But I understand if it did not. But do make sure to do that in time. So let's take a little bit more time to further develop our heads. Let's do. No, we don't want their mouths open. You completely understand this because you did binge watch a hell of a lot of art videos. Awesome! Awesome, we love to hear it. What's your art experience, new chatter? Well, rather, sorry. What have you been looking into? What resources have you been tapping into? I'm curious. We're gonna do our 60-second heads. Again, try to further develop it. Maybe add a nose. Try to discern, where the eye sockets are, where your eyes might be, if you have time. It's 60 seconds, so it's not as much time, but it'll let you more accurately get a read on where the proportions should be on your heads. So try that out. And I apologize if you wanted to draw along with this new chatter. I can't slow down the whole stream just for someone new. But I was curious. You don't have to answer the question now. If you still wanted to, you can. 2/3 size for the side of the head. She's mostly in profile, so it probably would have been closer to like the middle. I don't care though. I don't care enough. It's only 1 minute. It's still not a lot more time to feel it out. but extending it just a little bit off of the side because the proportions of the head they're about like half a cranium's length standing out. You understand the basics, but since you started last week, your art's still pretty bad. Don't think of it. Don't think of yourself as bad, and if it works for you, then okay. But think of yourself as unskilled. It's not as polished as it could be. And what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to ghost. By ghosting a line and not committing to it, we try to seek the best motion to draw that shape that we wanted. Try to remember that. That's a good tip to have whenever you're learning to commit to certain lines. Not a lot of time. Not a lot of time. Brow line. That down. Third. Line is off. Right around there. We're doing 5 of these. In case you forgot. It's much better to think I'm bad, but I was so much worse before. Think I may be unskilled now, but I will be more skilled the more I practice it. I just think that's a little more of a positive spin. Because if you tell yourself, I'm bad, then you're dooming yourself to thinking you're bad forever. Even if you might think that'll change. And I mean, I understand the importance of not having a big head for yourself, but wow, where the heck is her? It's probably like right here-ish. Something like that. Sorry, got distracted with figure drawing. But I just try to think things in more positive terms. You gotta be kind to yourself as well. I'm new to this. I don't know as much as I should, but I can improve. Things like that. We're seeing some repeats from last week because there's only so much in this library of photos. But what can you do when you're looking at a free resource very easily compiled into adjustable slideshows? This up here. And since you haven't been present for everything, Z Gabriel, what we're doing right now, we're practicing the Loomis head method, which is thirding things by dividing it into forehead, middle of the face from brow ridge to nose to chin. And we're not drawing, we weren't trying to draw the actual factual face. Because by practicing an average, you were definitely here for this part, but practicing an average helps build a standard for which you give yourself. That way you can tell what's off. What is off within your art because you have a standard that you understand and can draw. You have an average that you can draw. When trying the Loomis method, try to remember, we're looking for the brow ridge. I'm saying this mostly to myself because I keep looking at these photo references and I keep thinking, let's set this on the eyes. No, that's not how the Loomis method works at all. It's a deadly habit. You might be doing this whole workshop thinking, but I don't want to draw realistically. You don't have to. You don't have to draw realistically at all when you come away from this. It's just a tool to help you understand real life, help you understand averages, and help you understand how to see what real life has to offer. So that'll do for our heads. This is as deep as I can. This is the deepest insight I can give to how heads operate because not a lot of time. my semester is kicking up, and I can't spend another week just elaborating on faces. But on the head VOD, I leave a lot of links to more resources you can tap into in regards to understanding facial features. So remember to go check that out. YouTube.com/@RivRiderArt. We'll be doing hands next. I'll talk about hands. I will talk about the structure of hands. Got more confident with it, with each head. Still need to watch that VOD. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy that you're getting more confident. We'll do hands, both genders. We'll do 60-second hands. We'll do 60-second hands instead of 30-second hands. Just to go a bit easy. And we'll do about 10 of these. Hi, Sai. We've been going over every single lesson. We're basically doing a big fat review of everything we've done, which is so much talking. It's so much talking. So we're on the hands. We did bodies. We did full body gesture drawing. We reviewed heads from last session. And now we are doing hands. So get ready. I've been talking nonstop. I'm a little lightheaded. Let me take a swig of water. Ugh. I had work today, in which I talk a lot for 3 hours. Sensei, take care of yourself. I will. Don't worry. Let's get drawing. Let's get drawing. So, about hands. Hands, the secret to hands is that you gotta see gesture. You gotta see where the sweeping motions present within a hand is. So, we'll, for our 1-minute gestures, do your best to just see how each, just how motion can be expressed in a hand. Look for CSI lines. You can look inside the form of the hand, and you can look outside the form of the hand. Whichever helps you comprehend what you're looking at better. Do that. Bam. That. I'll talk about the anatomy of the hands when we do our 2-minute gestures, because we have more time for that. But you can think about the shape of hands. They're like, the palm is this sort of trapezoidal form. The thumb pad itself is like a little triangle, and everything else are tubes. Think of them like tubes where you can. You don't have to draw both hands for this gesture. For the 1-minute gestures, you only do them if you want to, and if you have the time to. So from here, I'll be looking for area of the most apparent motion and follow it up. Sometimes the areas of most motion will be the outermost part of the hand and the thumb. Sometimes that's just how it goes. When you can't think of a finger like a tube, try to think of it like a box, like a series of boxes that all come together. They separate at the joints. Diamond, or your knuckles, are like diamonds. Because your hands are actually nothing but skin and bones. Quite literally, nothing but skin and bones. It's interesting to think about. Go, lighter. Draw this hand coming out. You're seeking gesture. Ladvarian B, in his gesture drawings, he tended to include the arm. Which was a very interesting move because the arm still, he's very correct for it, the arm does convey a lot of motion. It does, it really does. And it cannot be discounted if it's relevant to the hand. Still try to keep focused where you can in regards to your studies. What else can we glean out of this hand? Fingers. Fingers are curling. Fingers curl. One thing to understand about the hand and fingers. Hands do not, I'm going to ignore this hand for now. Hands do not, they don't go in a straight row. Your fingers, although they are technically shorter in length, they do not line up like this. There's a curve. to which it's all set along, and they also curve inwards towards a center point. Keeping this in mind, I'm just talking about things we all need to remember. And there's a curve present through the whole gesture of the finger, which is why fingers curl the way they do. It's why they tend towards certain shapes, so on and so forth. Where applicable, you might want to group your fingers together, depending on movement present in them. If you're doing quick gestures, just lines for your fingers. Stay a lot. If you're short on time, get this out of here. This over, and then we're on to our last hand, our last 5-minute hand. We'll do 2-minute hands next. This is another case where definitely taking the method of curving from the outermost line, which includes the arm, is a good idea. And that line comes down and gets stopped by this right here, the open palm. This thumb is slightly curved outwards, despite it being at rest. The whole palm itself is making a scooping motion. So keep that in mind. And one more thing. The palm is it's a plane, but it's a dimensional plane. There is depth to it. There's just a bit of depth to it. I will pause the timer right there and let me finish my drawing. I don't know about the rest of you, but I want to finish my drawing just a little bit. We see this sort of step formation that is very common in the gesture of the hand. And we see right here, something I especially want to point out, there is this muscle, there is this fat pad that runs from the pinky towards the, it's not that thick, a little less, like something here. Goes kind of like that. Then the rest of your arm, rest of your hand rather, it bends inwards, sort of like this. Fat pad for your thumb. Wraps over the palm like that. So that's our first half of the gesture drawing. Next half, we'll be doing, let's do 3-minute hands actually. Let's do 3-minute hands. That's 180 seconds, right? Yes. And we'll focus on a bit more on the not on the gesture, but on the structure and the proportions of the fingers. So I will discuss now with a different picture. Sure. Okay. Fine. Whatever. I think this is just fun to do. So let's do that. Structure of a hand. Again, it's this sort of trapezoidal shape with a slight curve at the very top of it. Your palm itself does not have a lot of flexion. You'll notice that when you try to curl it up and bend it, it doesn't. The wrist is doing that. Your fingers are doing that. Nothing else is. Your palm isn't doing much. There are muscles on your palm that do move, but the whole palm itself is not really prone to it. Keep that in mind. The proportion that you can follow to generally keep it on track is that your whole palm is the same length as your middle finger, more or less. When you cut it in half, like I cut this whole length in half, from your middle finger to there, that's your palm. And then from there, your middle finger gets cut in half. That's the first digit. And you cut that in half, the second digit. And when you cut that in half, that's where your fingernail starts. That's how you can keep some of that in proportion, but in this case, a little inaccurate. We're not going to lasso a move, we're going to just erase it as God intended. So that's one way to keep it in mind. Your fingers are just halves of each other. The first digit is just half length. Second digit, half length. That's all you need to do. I have this very bad habit of drawing fingers like they are only 2 digits. And I could easily fix that at any time if I just halved the second digit. Because that's all that's there. That's all it is. Just half that length. I didn't have a lot of time to draw this dimensionally, but or rather proportionately or with whatever. But get to that. I'll discuss the bones of the hands. Excuse me. On the next hand. But for now, you can draw it like tubes. Just tubes that lock together. And just keep in mind your metric. Your two, these two phalanges, they'll never be longer than each other. They'll generally be equivalent. And the two phalanges combined will be about the same length as your first phalange. Your palm also is close to a lot of fat pads that love to bend in on themselves in response to just how everything moves. We don't have time to elaborate on muscles in the hands. You can seek that yourself, but know that it does exist. Again, don't have to draw every hand. Just draw the hand that interests you the most. In this case, I will use that that left to explain the bones of the hand. You can see they did a good job getting bony people with bony hands. So you can really see the knuckles and the shapes and all the muscles that this part of the hand is supposed to. So the wrist, we represent the wrist with a block because the wrist itself, it's like 7 different bones that don't move. So you can you can safely represent it as a block. Your hand itself is composed of mostly bone, like this. These are your metacarpals. Your metacarpals extend from the bone. They don't move, they don't bend. They are very, very rigid. And they come up roughly to the end of the palm. And they line up in a slight curve. Your thumb also has a metacarpal, but the thumb has a lot of flexion. It can rotate like crazy, as I'm sure you are aware of. And it goes about like halfway up the length of the palm. But basically, these don't move as much, but everything else on there does. And in this case, if you were drawing gesture, then you would just group these 3 fingers together kind of like this, and then your pinky sticks out, like so. And this is the habit I was talking about, where I tend to draw it like it's just one thing, but I can easily break that if I just break that single digit in half into 2 that rotate independently of each other. Rotate, kind of. They hinge. It's good to think about your fingers like they're hinges. They basically are built like that. You can draw this sort of cylinder, and then there's the front plane. It's represented by like this. We don't have a lot of time to discuss that part of it, but know that there is a very, like, it's distinct. Your front plane of the finger, it's very flat, but the bottom plane of your finger is very squishy on purpose. So just keep that in mind whenever you are drawing fingers. Fingers very naturally follow the general element, and these fingers are like completely off in proportion. Fingers should absolutely follow the principle of where there is a straight, there is a curve. There is usually some sort of meaty curve that follows. Because your fingers don't have a lot of muscle. They're mostly comprised of fat. So that's why they're so squishy. And as we try to find the gesture of this hand, drawing the trapezoid, I like to draw the base of the wrist, base of the hand that meets the wrist with this sort of like V shape, because it kind of represents where the thumb pad for the hand is and how these muscles tend to interact with the wrist. You don't always have to do it, and it might not always be present. I might be wrong. But that's how I like to do it, at the very least. I just think it looks more interesting like that. Here we go. There's my habit of drawing the second digits like they're 1. But hopefully, through this workshop, whether you've stuck by it or you've just gained a cursory glance for how gesture works now, you can start to see movement. You can start to understand where, from the outside, how do these move? Where's the outside contour? Where's the outside line for movement? And hopefully you improve your sighting to be a little bit better than mine. Look what I did. I messed up. There's more to this palm. It sticks around the outside. You can tell just by looking at a photo, just by seeing the reality of it, what you need to change. You got to be able to accept what you're seeing is different from what you think you are seeing, and improve based on that. There's that. There's that. Again, you can think of a finger like a box on a hinge. Box on a hinge. There's skin that wraps around the edges of your hand, some of its webbing. The webbing makes your fingers appear shorter from the front on the knuckle side, but the true length of your fingers are expressed on the palm side. So keep that in mind where you draw. And again, when you have a finger, the very last one, that's roughly where your nail goes to. Oh, this would have been so much better to talk about bones with. Man, whatever. Let's do that. Trapezoidal shape. Last one was fun. You gotta go. Work calls as usual. Good luck at work. Earn tons of dosh. Commission artists with. Good luck with it. Have a good day. We'll do that. And you can really see in these sort of things. The muscle present. And of course, an individual hand. And any individual will look different than the other. My family, for example, does not have straight pinkies like that. Our fingers curve like crazy. Our pinkies especially, the tips of our pinkies curl in like crazy towards the center. But this one, it's not so pronounced. But again, this is the thing about averages. Learn the average, and you'll learn how to deviate from that average. Length. Let me talk about length. Let me just redo that whole freaking thing. Got that line and a half. Palm. Middle finger. Cut that in half. Cut that in half. There you go. There's your two parts. Two phalanges. And from there, you just kind of follow the arc. You got to sight and see where things line up in relation to each other. Seeing things in relation to each other is a big part of becoming a better artist. You got to be able to tell how certain things line up with each other. In this case, let me see. This half is where the thumbnail is. Not thumb, just the nail. And you can see on this side, this person's finger, actually, their ring finger lines up to the beginning of their nail. So that lines up there, and then subsequently, the index finger is also over there. We can adjust a little bit for how much overdrew the palm. You can see that it wasn't as wide as I originally thought it was. Your metacarpal, your thumb is represented as a triangle. Then it comes up, it sticks out a little bit above the top of the palm, and you can cut it in half to get your joint. You can basically think of the thumbs, metacarpal, as a third joint, pretty much. And these proportions follow for all the rest of your hands. Cut it all in half, then cut it in half again. That's how you get roughly proportionate fingers to each other. And on to our final hand. It's a scrunchie. We have to practice a little bit of perspective. Perspective is a really, really big deal when you're drawing the body, and really just in drawing in general, because perspective means you understand how the world around you works. You can tell what is above and below. You can see where things are intended to vanish to. So on and so forth. You learn how to dress scenes in relation to perspective. It's all very, very important. It's all very, very hard to grasp as well. But given time and practice, you'll get there. I know for a fact, I like to say my life changed when I took figure drawing for the first time. That did not mean my life immediately improved with figure drawing. I still needed to take a lot of the principles I learned from figure drawing and apply it through my whole life. It's been about 6 years since I took that first figure drawing class. I try not to think about the fact that it's been 6 years, but it's helped me in numerous ways. And since I started teaching last semester, a part of me, well, really, I wanted to do this workshop in preparation for my first class ever. I didn't get to. I had other commitments going on at the time. But I wanted to do this because when people learn movement, when people learn how things move, it is my honest belief that that's like the code. That is the cheat code to life, to understanding how to draw anything. And I wanted to try and express that to as many people as I could, as much as I can. But it's really hard to meet people, to reach people. If they're not in a position to learn, they're not in a mindset to learn, or maybe anything I say does not make a lot of sense. So that's why I wanted to do a workshop. I wanted to do a live workshop because I figured it affords people the time to process what I am teaching. It gives them time to ask questions and internalize what they don't understand so that they can then properly ask, so they know how to ask. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I learn how to do anything? Well, here's the starter course. here's the starting point to many of my philosophies when it comes to drawing. This could have been a little bit better. And I can just always point people over here. And if you do the workshop, then you get to ask, how does this work? How does that work? So on and so forth. So that's the end of our hand drawing. If anyone was participating in that, leave me some feedback. Tell me how you felt about your hands, and what you've learned about gesture in hands as a result of this workshop, or from anything else you've been absorbing during this time. I'm going to go get more water. My throat is so dry. Be right back. Hi, I went to the bathroom instead while I was up. Let's head up to the next portion of the gesture drawing. Ooh, we're going for 130, technically, almost 140. And we still have a lot more to do. We're gonna cap off with a really long draw. I keep saying that. So, we'll be drawing feet now. We'll do about maybe 10, either 10 or 7, depends on how much patience I have. But I'll go over feet again as we go through all this. So let's get drawing. Don't have to draw both feet. Sorry, hold on. Take this. It's 2 minutes. You don't need that much time for drawing feet. But here we go. Let's talk feet. Feet are strange. Feet are very, very strange. You can start feet. I'm not doing just a drawing for feet, by the way. You can start your feet drawing using a sort of cylinder, a rounded cylinder like this. Draw a ramp of sorts to represent the arch, and then you can draw a sort of rounded thing. I really don't know how to describe the shape, but it's sort of boxy, but it's round to represent the arch present in the toes. That's one way to set it up. But feet are strange. Feet are very difficult to grasp because feet are designed to spring. Feet are asymmetrical, even more asymmetrical than the hands. The hands are very symmetrical by comparison. But if you look closely at a foot, you'll notice things such as a lot of the weight tends to press right here on the outer side of a foot. There are muscles that control how these sort of things curve. Curve like this. And toes operate so strangely because they're designed to press into the ground, designed to cushion impact. A foot at rest will look radically different from a foot in action, a foot that's raised. And toes, wild extremely. They vary wildly. Sorry, there we go. Between people. Some people have their big toes taller than their pointer toe. Some people have their toes equal in length. Some people have their pointer toes longer in length compared to their big toes. So here's another example of that. I'll talk a bit more about the structure of the foot. So the structure of the foot basically goes, here's your heel. It's somewhere around here. There's a big mass of bones that you can see the way it hinges into the chart here. I haven't talked about proportion yet. I'll talk about proportion in a bit. Big mass of bones that lead into your metatarsals. The metatarsals are similar to your hands. They don't really bend a lot. That's not really their department. There's 5 of them. There is 5 of them. Unlike the thumb, your big toes metatarsal doesn't like freely bend around. There is a lot of fat and muscle that supports the different ways your foot bends around. There isn't a quick and easy explanation to follow in proportion for your toes. Your toes do have 3 joints, technically. But as you may have realized at some point in your life, you're not super dexterous at using them. Your big toe still has about 2, but everything else does have 3. If you are dexterous with your toes, congrats. No, genuinely, that's really hard. I tried once, and I was just like, that hurts my toes a lot. But there is no real easy way to quickly measure and ascertain how toes should be proportioned, other than they generally follow a curve to them. So there's that. The proportion of a toe, or proportions of a foot, rather, they don't fit very cleanly into a proportion guide or proportion set either. So just doing this. I'll draw a box, and I'll cut that box into even thirds, as even as I can get it, and I'll explain. So this is roughly an equally thirded box. Your heel starts somewhere in the center. It does not extend all the way to the back. Your heel kind of goes like this. It intrudes a bit upon the middle third. This comes out, intrudes a little bit on the other third. There's an arch here. That's the arch of your foot. And then your toes comprise the rest of the shape up to the end, mostly to the big toe. So this is roughly and I drew it back from what we see there. That's my bad. So this arch would actually be a little less pronounced because it's the outer arch. It goes something like this. This is the rough proportion set for your foot. It's not super reliable, but it's the best one we got. It's about thirds, and the thirds kind of intrude on each other. Mostly the middle section, with its arch leaning into the toes. I will discuss a few more mechanics of the feet, and how certain things structure together. But again, big massive bones that do shape, and they do move a little bit. You can see it through the skin. You can see it right here, on this image, like right around here. The big massive bones. They just make up a lot of parts of the foot. But I'll talk a bit more about bones. Speaking of bones, you have an ankle bone right here. You can represent it with a diamond, and it hinges like a wrench into the socket of your foot. And that's because your legs, your calves are made of two different bones. The inner bone is taller. It's taller than the other. Your heel also sticks out just a little bit from the back. It is not perfectly straight like this. It's more like this, like that. Keep that in mind. Very, very offhanded way of putting it, but just keep that in mind. Your foot does still have gesture. It does still follow some form of gesture as it rolls around. Like right there. There is curving. You can find muscles. You can find the different ways the bones stick out from you're looking at. And what is the objective of this drawing? Just to practice form. You can look for gesture if you want. Mostly to practice form, though. I need to bring this ankle a lot lower, like there. I can't really elaborate on all of the bones in the foot at this time. Go watch another video. Go to the foot VOD. Follow the links that I leave in the description there. If you really, really want to get to know how to draw a foot better, I'll discuss the arches, the foot next. On the next foot, and I might discuss the ankle. Okay, instead we're going to talk about the muscle of the foot, the muscles of the foot from the bottom. I didn't get to talk about like how do you draw toes, but when you draw a foot, and this isn't like speaking with any sort of like veracity. I didn't verify exactly how the muscles of the foot work because I didn't feel like it. But I can tell you from experience, the inner side of the foot tends to be lifted off. It's more for springing. So you don't generally see a lot of like tension there as you do in comparison to the outer side of the foot, the heel, and this pad right here, where everything sits upon. Speaking of, your big toe kind of has a separated thumb pad going on. But it kind of divides through the middle, kind of like this. This part is raised a little bit. That's the contour to it, because it's made for springing, while the outer side of the foot is made for support. It is made for carrying weight. I riffed about this in the foot stream for learning feet, but in the Disney Channel original show, Bill of the Future, in the future, they lose their pinky toes, and they laugh at modern day for still having pinky toes. Guess what, Bill of the Future? Your pinky toe covers a lot of stability in your foot, whether you want to believe it or not. So yeah, there's that. You can depict toes as if they only have two phalanges, two joints. They have three, though. Please keep that in mind. They're roughly thirds with each other. This is a good example for what I was talking about with toes. Toes, they're so frustrating because when they are draw the right foot actually. When they're in motion, they're completely different from a foot at rest. When it springs, a lot of tension is relieved, a lot of gravity is relieved from them. We'll draw that bone. We can see that it is, in fact, higher. We can see there's a lot of bones that comprise the, the start of that arch, is where all of the metatarsals all then come out, play, heel, sticks out so a little bit. Because of the inner side, there's a more pronounced arch on the inner side of your foot. Again, because this is the part that springs. This is the part that springs upward. The bottom of your foot is still an arch, similar to your hand. There is a muscle here. This is the outer curve where all that weight bearing is on. Toes are springing upwards. They are sticking out great. Crazy, right? Crazy. They're sticking out straight, which is in direct contrast to how you might prefer to draw them, which I will discuss when we get to draw some toes in the manner I'm about to describe them. Something like this. Okay. So this foot does not have gravity acting upon it, but I can still talk about how feet move. And you can see this person must have been on their feet for a while. Their feet are red, dude. They're also like really chafed. Don't stare at it for too long if feet make you queasy. But follow the feet have this person is intentionally flexing their toes upwards as much as they can. But you can think of toes as having a sort of step motion to them. As you come down the length of toe, it's most visible with the pinky toe here. It comes out, there's the first one, then it drops down because your third joint needs to make contact with the floor. So it makes step motion. It makes it look like this, basically, which is the default shape that you can turn to when you are drawing the foot resting on the floor. The pinky is a little bit of an outlier because the pinky toe, it curls inwards. Everything kind of curls in, but the pinky toe especially so. So it still does that sort of step motion. Just keep in mind, it tends to curl inwards a bit differently from everything else. Your middle toes don't have a lot of flexion. They don't have a lot of it's really hard to train yourself to be able to control them individually. So they tend to group up, which means it's totally valid for you when you're drawing feet to just do this if you really want to, or like this, if you really want to. Perfectly fine when you're simplifying feet. Mind? See, this is the outer end, so the arch was a lot less pronounced. How many are we on? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do a couple more. Is there anything left to talk about feet? I'm not so sure. Feet are complex. Feet require a lot of learning. You got to teach yourself the mnemonics of feet, and how they work together. You got to really teach yourself how to do it. You got to look at a lot of feet. Sometimes feet aren't pretty, but you know how you can find pretty feet? There are websites for that. Go ask an adult. Yes. Feet are hard. Feet are very hard for a lot of the reasons I've been talking about. What? That's what gets you to pipe up? That's what gets you to pipe up, my little offhand comment? Yeah, feet have a lot going in them. But they still have gesture. They still have ways you can simplify them. In fact, we can simplify it like this. Look at that. Look at me go. I simplified my toes, so I don't have to think about them, but I still have to draw them. So having method does still work for finding toe joints. Yeah, think of them like a staircase. You were always here. Bro did not respond to my previous call to action. I'm so offended. I've been yapping. I wanted to see if anyone was improved because of the hand gesture drawings. But does anyone, honestly, even with this cursory knowledge of the foot, I'm sorry I can't give a super advanced, in-depth examination of the feet and how it all works beyond just like, lol, go check it out yourself. Has it helped anyone? I'd like to know. Yeah. Awesome. Glad to know. Outer ankle, or you might want to draw your base of the leg at a slight angle, or else it kind of works like this. And it's a wrench shape. I didn't get to talk about like the Achilles heel, the Achilles tendon, this stuff over here. On this person, their heel isn't super pronounced, but they are kind of bending forward a bit. Their leg is doing a certain thing, but just keep in mind, it generally does tend to stick out a little bit from the back of the foot, your heel, that is. This is the inner side of the foot, so the arch, this transversal arch. Sorry, I can't remember the name of the other arch right now, but this arch, very, very clear. Very clear. You can follow some motion through the big toe, group all the other toes together if you're seeking motion. Back there, because that middle phalange, sorry, carpal, metatarsal rather, very prominent. Gotta practice it, but you understand it better. Good. Yeah, it takes a lot to really break it down. It's an ugly foot. I don't want to look at that. Look at this one though. This is our last foot. Don't have to drop both. And if you want. Yeah, this does a lot to explain a lot of processes behind the foot. Your foot kind of steeps at an angle when it's resting, like so. You've got muscles and bones that stick it out, like so. Your arch is a lot more prominent on the, not the arch, but rather the muscles that support it because they hold you down, they're a lot more prominent on the outer side. That it's up, up. Not 4, it's 5. There's 5. Your inner ankle, higher, outer ankle, lower. That. Your toes lay flat on the ground. This is more than appropriate to think of them like boxes as a result. Drawing the form, you're trying to draw the layout of it. The way it's set up. Continue to think of it in terms of a step down. This up. And you want to be watching for whether you're drawing what you're actually seeing. Metatarsal, T for toe. Around here-ish. Pinky toe. And bending inwards. It's laying flat on the floor in a very funny way. And this person's on their tiptoes, so it's even flatter. But this person is standing like, ah! This person is standing, ah! This person is standing normally. So therefore, the toes make their step pattern as they come down. So that'll do it for our feet review. Whew. I'm looking forward to this last one, personally, because I kind of want to get out of here on it already. But it's important to the integrity of the workshop if we do at least one long draw of proportion. Oof. Stretching and rotating my arm and wrist. Whew. How are we feeling? How are we feeling at this point in the stream? I promise, next segment is the very last one. And I'll let you go, and you'll be free to return to your lives. Hungry but good. All right, can you tough it out for just 15 more minutes? Sleepy, can you tough it out for 15 more minutes if you'd like to keep drawing with me? You can drop if you want. You don't gotta keep going. But, I would like us to practice proportion now. We'll set this to 10 minutes. Sure thing, Teach. It says Jaden pose, like Jaden, like Shmade and Shmooky. Get your game on, so forth. Did anyone else have their Jaden Yuki phase? I did as a kid. I genuinely thought that was cool. I was a little too old to think it was cool, though. I was like 11. People were getting out of Yu-Gi-Oh! You became him? Awesome. I'm glad for you. So, let's do a male model. This time. Well, covered models. And we'll look for the best almost nude model money can buy. Which is this. We'll do this. We'll discuss, I will discuss proportion while we all draw this together. I will set the live split because I couldn't set line of action to be 15 minutes. I can do math. I know what 15 times 60 is. I just think it's funnier to open live split. Yes. There is. I don't want to update live split right now. But let's get going. 15 minutes. Let's talk about proportion. So, standard proportion of a head. Standard proportion of a person, an ideal proportion, can be found with 7.5 heads, which measures the full head length, or 11.5 heads, which measures the cranium height. First off, let's start by just finding the gesture of this gentleman. Excuse me. So glad for Line of Action to provide this very, very muscular man. Going just fine gesture. We're finding the quick appearance of everything, and we got a sight. We gotta compare how everything looks relative to each other. Check on things relative proportion to each other, and adjust as you see fit. That. Do, 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 do. Person is mid-run. So there's actually like there is some merit to studying from photographs because a photograph can do what live gesture drawing cannot, which is let you capture someone mid-motion. Studying from photographs is important because you want to see what the middle point of a person's motion is. You want to understand what someone looks like when they are sort of naturally in the middle of a transition. And maybe this person is just holding a pose, but they are mostly in transition right now. They're meant to emulate a pose in transition, which you can't get out of a live figure drawing. So keep those in mind. You choose between one or the other. So we kind of got the gesture. I kind of got carried away and drew a little bit of the calf there. I might need to make certain things wider. But let's think about the scale of it all. So the standardized head measurement for a person relies on mostly them standing stock still. So in this case, if I were to measure someone like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 head lengths from top to bottom, this would be where the bottom of their hips would be. And in relation to everything else, the top of the head, I believe it goes like this. Top of the hips, that's basically 1 unit length. From here to here, the pit of the neck, at about yeah, something like that, halfway down. That's where the pit of the neck. I sometimes get a little mixed up on this still myself. I need to really hit the books about that. But the bottom of the rib cage tends to align midway down the third head, thereabouts. And it's hard. It's really hard to use the okay, good, I am. It's really hard to use the 7.5 head method on someone who's like actually in motion. And the 7.5 head method begins again halfway through. So you move your head reference to the halfway point of the pelvis, and you just rotate that again. And it's supposed to go like 3 head lengths for your thigh, and another 3 roughly for your foot. Your foot's your ankle goes like right here. Here should go much further down. This. So that's roughly how that proportion works. Goes right here. So that's how you can measure it to be a bit proportional. Your arm length, it starts a little bit out. Goes from like your shoulder length. Rather before the shoulder starts, the top lines up with your armpit. This is with the 7.5 med method. And this arm is slightly in perspective. His shoulder's also pulled up a bit. Starts a little bit higher. ought to. But this method, the 7.5 head method, it starts to falter whenever something is in perspective. In my opinion, I don't think it should be there. But what do I know? But this is roughly how it all should line up. Your upper arm is about 2 head lengths. Your forearm and hand about comprises 2 head lengths. Your hand actually sticks out, including the fingertips, a little bit above 2 head lengths. But that's one way to measure all of this. It's a lot. It is a lot. But another means of measuring things and keeping things roughly proportionate with each other would be through the cranial head method. Make that folder. And that would be, you find the cranium's head, you measure things at 11.5 heads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as you can see, we have to take a bit of proportion. We have to take a bit of perspective, rather. Sorry, tongue twisted. I've been talking for 5 hours. You kind of got to pay attention to perspective there, and then it starts over again from halfway up. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that. 1, 2, 4. There it is pulled back a little bit. And you can find that you might end up fudging this perspective rule, this perspective method, rather this proportioning method, a little bit because of the perspective. You can cheat a lot of things by just like saying, actually, it's a little bit in perspective, so therefore it's a little bit off. But this is a genuine method of measuring things, especially when they are in perspective. So just keep that in mind. Legs, about 4 head lengths. Your arm, including your shoulder, still about 2. Upper arm, rather. Your, I believe this is roughly how the arm measures out. 2, 3. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Whoa. Okay. Well, I messed up. This is hard. But it's supposed to count to about like 6 heads here, and then another 6 heads covers that whole length, which means I did mess up. Which means put that out of there. Should be in a bit more perspective. 1, 2, 3, and then knee is a whole separate thing. 2, 3, and then technically the foot would be shorter, but it's hard. It's a hard method to totally work around. But those are just 2 methods that you can try to understand. Let me continue talking about other parts of proportion on a male skeleton, on a male physique, male leaning physique. I took a lot of pains to say this is entirely related to like body imagery. You can be male and present as feminine. Masculine and feminine figures, they tend to look certain ways. Masculine figures tend to have wider shoulders and narrower hips. Female figures tend to have wider hips and to accommodate certain things more. There's some more rough proportions that I'm kind of running out of time for. But it relates to where your rib cage tends to be, and where it lines up in relation to certain bones or hips, such as the pieces. The pieces is this part of your hip bone. It's called the P because this is the aces, anterior. This is the aces. It's the pieces from behind. They tend to align, like, I believe, on a male, on masculine figures. The aces lines up with the end of the rib, and on a female, effeminate. Sorry, I gotta keep telling myself to do those sort of things. On an effeminate skeleton, the pieces the inner area tends to align with the end of the rib, something like that. I have links on my VODs. Please refer to those if I'm not making any sense. But let's continue constructing this skeleton using mannequinization, using shapes that we've learned. Body, your upper arms are sort of a cylinder that kind of taper towards the joints, present with a cube with a box. Very intuitive to use boxes for your joint because it tells you the side planes, front planes, and the bottom planes of them. Your arms are a tube that ends in a block because it's much easier to intuit which side of the arm you're looking at when you have a block or a wrist. On to the other side. Like so. When you're drawing quicker sketches, quicker figure drawing, perfectly acceptable to represent the joints as balls. Balls. Echoing filter balls. Because it's simpler that way. But when you're trying to really break down what you're looking at, use squares, use boxes. Emphasis on boxes, not squares. Squares are flat. Squares don't have dimension. Boxes do. I believe your arm has 2 bones as well, like your calf. I could be wrong. But that's kind of why when you see on the photo itself, you kind of see this curve, horizon on both sides. I believe elbow attached to one and the other bone right there. I could be wrong though. I don't totally remember the anatomy of it. Please correct me if you do know and have the time to talk about it. But from here, your legs start halfway down the hip because this is if we were talking like pure anatomy, the skeletal structure of your hips, it is hollow on the socket right here, where the greater trochanter extends from, and you can kind of see the greater trochanter like around here. It's where some of that part is defined. It is this part right here on the muscle. Well, it's not muscle; it's bone. It sticks out. So that's something to watch for when you are looking at the elaborated shape of a figure. You can draw your thigh as either a cylinder, which is about the thigh itself is about consistent in width. It depends though, depending on what you're looking at. But generally, that's the rule. If someone has more flared hips, we gotta ban someone. That's a bot. Get it out of here! Anyway. Yeah, they're about consistent in width, but it depends on what you were looking at. This leg is actually more bent, which should be lower. Like, robots can't love, but what about Mega Man X? Twitch user Cyborg Wizard. I have to address you directly because it's a funny bit. But you can also call. You can draw legs like boxes, thighs like boxes, because it's easier to distinguish the front plane, side plane of your thighs like that. And your calves. We're at 15 minutes. You can keep drawing if you'd like. You can put your pencil down. I gotta finish my explanation. But your calves, they're about a tube. Think of them like kind of like a tube. They are wider, about 2/3 up the length. Represent those bones in your calves. There's a tube, and then it ends in a in a circle, so it makes it cylindrical. Then we can use the basic shapes of the foot, that trapezoid, that ramp shape, which ends in some bluntness. This person's actually like their foot's more side on. I couldn't really see their foot the entire time I was drawing, so that might have affected some of my judgment. But that is roughly everything we've been talking about. Some side notes about anatomy proportion. Your face tends to be about the same size as your palm. So if you're drawing a hand, literally just compare it to a person's face. That'll tell you whether you're about getting it right. And your foot, I believe its length is about 2 cranial units, a half cranial units. Could be wrong. Odds will elaborate for me. But that's roughly a proportionate figure. That's kind of a proportionate figure. Couldn't really elaborate on every single thing there was. But that's what the SpongeBob episode, robots. That's what we got. That's basically been the entire workshop. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope everything we've been over has been informative. It has helped you for the better. Hope you've managed to take away a few things, and make sure to refer to all of the video resources that I link in the VOD's description. Let's head over. There's no homework to assign today, because hopefully by now you've gained a good idea for what you need to practice as you get better at figure drawing. Or you've zeroed in the process of doing this, you've zeroed in on what you need to improve as an artist. There's all of that. Let's head over to the end card. I've been your host, Riv Ryder. You can find me at the socials listed here. Twitter is not listed, but you can find me at RivHooksArt if you so wish. If you go to rivryder.card.co, it has all the necessary links you need to see. So you can follow me here on Twitch. Next week, I'll probably start streaming like a normal person, streaming art and games. We'll figure out a schedule for that. But the workshop isn't over yet. Next session that we have on Thursday, I will be discussing, once again, imagination. We'll be discussing what all this figure drawing does, why we do it, and how it translates into our own work. Maybe we don't want to draw realistic. Maybe we want to draw our original characters. We're stylized. Maybe we want to draw anime, which is stylized. Maybe we want to draw cartoons, which are nothing like any of the proportion systems we talked about. I'll talk about all of that on Thursday. But for now, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow on Twitch if you so desire. I'll keep streaming. I think streaming is fun. And that's it. Thank you for joining me here today. I'll process this VOD. It'll go up. You'll see. And one final thought. Sorry. One final thought. I hope. Did anyone hear that? That's Facebook. Where's Facebook? There's Facebook. Go to RivRider. No, not RivRider.card.co. Is it RivRider.card.co? Is it there? Did I add that link? No, it's not there. But it is on my Tumblr. My links are a little bit widespread, unfortunately. But there is a Discord. It is a ping Discord, not a community Discord. It's literally just alerts for when I stream, or alerts for when full art posts go up. Every link to the VOD, every single link related to... I didn't bring my microphone back down after I got up. I hope everyone's been able to hear me properly since then. But there are links to all of the workshop related assets. All the workshop related stuff is in its own text category. You can join if you want. You aren't pressured to talk because there's nowhere to really talk. It's just for pings. So, one final time, I'm Riv Ryder. Thank you for joining me. Hope you learned something through all of this, and hopefully I'll see you back on Thursday for the final session. Thank you for joining me. Have a good evening, day, whenever you're looking at this. Bye!